What's up, guys? My name is Rick. I'm a financial coach. I'm the owner of the Debt Free Mafia. And today I wanted to talk about why do people hate Dave Ramsey so much? It's a really good question. And it really boils down to a couple of different things. Really, it's a philosophical difference, and a lot of people don't respond to his delivery well. It's kind of what I boil down to. So I kind of had some thoughts on that I wanted to share today. If you don't like Dave Ramsey, or if you do like Dave Ramsey, let me know in the comments what are your opinions of him. Maybe some of my points of view might help you understand some other people and why they feel the way they do. I was on TikTok this week, and as you guys know, if you have a TikTok, don't do it because they just know you so well. They're really good. They have a really good algorithm. So their algorithm has started throwing all kinds of personal finance stuff at me, and naturally that makes sense, right? However, I get lots of different personal finance gurus that what they like to do is they like to share clips of his radio show, or they like to share tweets of his. And Dave's always been about big shock and awe with his one-liners, right? He's always been that way. So they'll take his one-liners, a big shock and awe kind of thing, and they'll just try to grill him for it. It's very common. I always thought it was very weird that these people that hate Dave so much use him so much to promote their business. Now, I'm not sitting here as a giant Dave Ramsey fanboy. I'm not one. I do think he has learned some awesome principles from his mentor, and his baby steps that he learned from his mentor have helped me and have helped me as a financial coach. Still very similar principles that I teach in my business. And so kind of wanted to speak on that. Okay, so let's kind of talk about the number one thing that I think a lot of people really in the finance industry really don't like about Dave, and that is his philosophy. So if you don't know Dave's story, Dave was a real estate guru. He was an entrepreneur and very successful very early on what he had done. If you're not familiar with your story, he went and borrowed a ton of money from some banks, bought up a bunch of real estate, was making millions, basically was a millionaire, I think by like 26 or something like that. And then what had happened was his banks had switched ownership. So they had basically, I think they got bought out by another big bank. So this big bank came in and then, was looking over all of the accounts of debt that was owed to them. And they saw that they had a 26-year-old guy with millions of dollars of debt, basically, that he owed them. And so essentially what they do, and this is what banks can do, and a lot of people don't realize this, but in most cases, banks can call the loan at any given point. I know some state laws can kind of differ on that. However, in most states, they can call you on your loan right away. I think there is some protection in there when it comes to like mortgages and stuff, but his were investment properties, so it was different. So they called him on his loan. So he instantaneous, very similar to my story, where it went from kind of in debt to massively in debt instantly. But right, he was making his payments, he was reducing his debt because he was had all this stuff, but he got a bill that said pay the rest right now, and he couldn't, right? So he went belly up, had to go through bankruptcy, and decided that was the most stressful thing that he had ever been through, and that he didn't have peace. So I think that's really where the philosophical difference comes down in a lot of people's lives, in thoughts of Dave, is Dave, the way he structures what he teaches is based around mitigating risk. So it's all about getting rid of risky things. And so he realized himself, investing in all these different assets, real estate assets, that it was very risky because he put his family at risk because he had this debt that could get called at any moment. So it was very risky, and he didn't want to live that way anymore. He wanted to live a debt-free life. He wanted to live a peaceful life. So his philosophy and the way he's structured, what he's learned from his mentor is a path of least resistance, essentially, to building your financial freedom. Right, so it's what the big argument is, and we've talked about this before. I have a video about comparing Dave Ramsey to Grant Cardone. Big philosophy difference there is, they say, money's cheap to borrow, and I've heard that a bunch, right? Money's cheap to borrow, the interest rate's cheap right now. You can go and borrow and make way more on real estate investments. However, there's just a ton of risk that comes with that. If that's something that you're going to do, that's fine. That's not what we teach here at the Debt Free Mafia. We teach financial freedom and being debt free, because in our story, when we were over $1 million in debt, the amount of weight that it put on my shoulders took a actual physical toll on me. I lost 15 pounds. I was pale. I was sick to my stomach. I would come home and cry from my really crappy day job that I had during that whole time. It was just miserable, and I didn't want to feel like that, and I didn't want anybody else to feel like that, and that's why I became a financial coach. So I was born, or I basically felt like I was almost reborn, where I was only going to do things that were smart, that was going to mitigate risk and not be so risky, so that I could live a peaceful life and be able to sleep at night. So a lot of people disagree with him there, and that's what they grill him for the most, is his stuff is too conservative, and it's not about getting rich quick. And if you know anything about life, we shouldn't get rich quick, right? There's usually some really bad stigmas with that. Bible even talks about not getting rich quick. Building wealth over time is the way to go. Okay. Also, the other thing that people really don't like about him, and I'm pretty sure that these people don't like it because they never played sports growing up. If you didn't have a coach yelling in your face because you did something wrong, you kind of missed out on that, and you're probably not going to respond to Dave very well. It wasn't that bad, but I had just learned that I had coaches growing up who were just like they're very intense, and they would voice their disappointment very easily, right? However, I never questioned whether or not they loved me, right? I never questioned that. They would always tell us, "Hey, I will get really mad at you, but I still love you," and I always knew that. However, it really toughened me up. Like, I could take a harsh word way better after playing football than what I could before I played football. I didn't start playing football seriously until I was halfway through high school. It really did kind of toughen me up, and I had other coaches, even in golf, believe it or not, had a coach who was very strict and would get very upset if things didn't go well, right? So that's kind of something else to be thinking about, is how well can you receive what he says. A lot of people don't receive it well. They think he's just too brash, right? We kind of live in a little bit of a sensitive culture right now, where everybody feels like they're walking on eggshells with whatever they say, and you're always going to upset somebody, and Dave doesn't care. He does a good job of that. Probably a little too good of a job about that. Sometimes I wish he'd tone it back. Sometimes it's my personal opinion. Some people just are going to respond better to a different form of communication than him telling them you're stupid, right? Which he does. So, I think that's important. Kind of those two that philosophical difference, and then the fact that his delivery can seem really brash, really rubs people the wrong way. Some people love his peace, or his philosophy of peace, and also love how brash he is and how straight up he is, and they respond to it well. I responded to it well because I wanted peace, and I was used to being yelled at. And it just worked out for me. So I responded well to his program. Financial Peace really set us on the track to be doing what we're doing now. So big believer in that. I think they're doing some awesome stuff there. Guys, that's my opinions of why people hate Dave. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you like Dave? Do you not like Dave? Just curious, what are your opinions of him? Guys, that was it for that video. I'm so happy that you stopped by. Again, my name is Rick. I'm the owner of the Debt Free Mafia. It would mean the world to me if you'd hit the like button and subscribe. I really am trying to build a community here so that we can go forward helping more and more people. Guys, appreciate you. Peace.